December 31st, 1999. The world held its breath as midnight approached, waiting for civilization to collapse, because programmers in the 1960s decided to save 2 bytes of memory. The Y2K bug was supposed to crash every computer on Earth, plunge us into darkness, and send society back to the Stone Age. Because apparently the most advanced species on the planet could be defeated by a calendar.
The world is gonna end at midnight tonight. Y2K.
Y2K? What are you selling, chicken or sex jelly?
Governments spent $600 billion preparing for digital Armageddon. People hoarded food, water, and cash.
I just wanted to be prepared in case, anything happens for Y2K, just to have an ounce of prevention,
Some built bunkers, others threw end-of-the-world parties. Then midnight struck, computers everywhere rolled over to January 1st, 2000, and absolutely nothing happened.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy 2000!
Today, we'll explore how a simple programming shortcut created the biggest mass hysteria in modern history, why smart people genuinely believed civilization would end, and what Y2K teaches us about fear, technology, and the power of collective panic in the information age. But first, let's understand how 2 missing digits nearly broke the world, or at least convinced everyone they would. In the early days of computing, memory was incredibly expensive. We're talking about systems where every single byte mattered, and programmers had to be ruthlessly efficient with storage. So when they needed to store dates, they made what seemed like a logical decision. Instead of using 4 digits for the year, 1965, they'd use just 2, 65. This saved precious memory space and seemed perfectly reasonable for systems that weren't expected to last beyond the 1970s. The problem was that these systems didn't die when expected. Instead, they became the backbone of modern civilization. By the 1990s, COBOL programs written in the 1960s were still running critical infrastructure. Banking systems, power grids, air traffic control, nuclear power plants, and government databases. These ancient programs were buried so deep in essential systems that nobody wanted to touch them, following the classic IT principle: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But as the year 2000 approached, a terrifying realization emerged. When these systems tried to process the date 00, they would interpret it as 1900, not 2000. This could cause catastrophic failures. Bank accounts might show negative balances spanning a century. Power grids could shut down. Air traffic control systems might crash. Nuclear power plants could malfunction. The 2-digit shortcut that saved a few bytes in the 1960s had created a ticking time bomb that threatened to explode at the stroke of midnight on January 1st, 2000. The countdown to digital doomsday had begun. Then the media discovered Y2K, and suddenly everyone became an expert on 30-year-old COBOL code. What started as a legitimate technical concern quickly spiraled into full-blown hysteria, fueled by sensationalist media coverage and opportunistic fear-mongering. News programs ran endless segments about potential disasters: planes falling from the sky, elevators trapping people, medical devices failing, and ATMs refusing to dispense cash. The phrase Y2K compliant became a marketing buzzword as companies rushed to assure customers their products wouldn't kill them at midnight. Religious groups proclaimed Y2K as a sign of the apocalypse. Survivalists saw it as validation of their doomsday preparations. Entrepreneurs made fortunes selling Y2K survival kits, backup generators, and millennium-proof software. Books with titles like The Y2K Survival Guide and Time Bomb 2000 became bestsellers, painting vivid pictures of societal collapse. The panic was particularly intense because Y2K combined 2 powerful fears: technology we didn't understand, and a specific deadline we couldn't avoid. Unlike other potential disasters, Y2K had a precise countdown timer that everyone could see approaching. This created a unique psychological pressure that built steadily throughout 1999. Government officials didn't help matters. Some issued dire warnings about potential infrastructure failures, while others tried to balance preparedness with preventing panic. The mixed messages only increased public anxiety. When the US government established a Y2K command center and recommended that people stockpile food and water, it seemed to confirm everyone's worst fears. The irony was that the more people prepared for Y2K disasters, the more convinced they became that disasters were inevitable. Preparation became proof of the threat's reality, creating a feedback loop that amplified the panic. By late 1999, Y2K had transformed from a technical problem into a cultural phenomenon that revealed humanity's complex relationship with technology and our deep-seated fear of losing control. Meanwhile, while everyone else was panicking, an army of programmers was quietly saving the world. One line of COBOL code at a time. The global response to Y2K was unprecedented in scale and coordination. Governments, corporations, and organizations worldwide spent an estimated $600 billion identifying, testing, and fixing Y2K vulnerable systems. This massive effort involved millions of programmers, many of whom came out of retirement to work on systems they had written decades earlier. The remediation process was like performing surgery on a patient who couldn't be anesthetized. Critical systems had to remain operational while being modified, tested, and validated. Banks couldn't shut down their transaction processing systems for months of repairs. Power companies couldn't turn off the electricity grid while upgrading their control software. Air traffic control systems had to keep planes flying safely while being overhauled. Some of the most critical work happened in the most mundane places. Elevator control systems, traffic lights, manufacturing equipment, and building security systems all needed Y2K fixes. Even seemingly simple devices like VCRs and microwave ovens were scrutinized for date-related failures. Though most of these concerns proved overblown, the effort revealed just how dependent modern civilization had become on computer systems, many of which were far older than anyone realized. Some companies discovered they were running software written in the 1960s that nobody fully understood anymore. The Y2K crisis forced a massive audit of global computing infrastructure that was probably long overdue. Ironically, the very scale of the remediation effort contributed to public fear. If governments and corporations were spending hundreds of billions of dollars to fix Y2K problems, the problems must be real and serious, right? The cure became evidence of the disease, even though the extensive preparations were actually making Y2K failures far less likely. But here's the thing. When midnight finally arrived, the most dramatic thing that happened was Dick Clark's ball drop in Times Square. As January 1st, 2000 dawned across the globe, the world watched and waited for civilization to collapse. Instead, they got the most boring apocalypse in history. Computers rolled over to the new millennium with barely a hiccup. Power grids stayed online. Banks processed transactions normally. Planes didn't fall from the sky. Nuclear power plants continued operating safely. The few Y2K-related problems that did occur were minor and quickly resolved. Some slot machines in Delaware stopped working. A few government websites displayed incorrect dates. Some credit card processing systems had temporary glitches. A nuclear power plant in Japan had a minor alarm system failure that was fixed within hours. These isolated incidents were nothing compared to the global catastrophe that had been predicted. The anticlimactic nature of Y2K led to immediate backlash. Critics claimed the whole thing had been a hoax, a massive overreaction, or a conspiracy by technology companies to generate business. The phrase Y2K bug became synonymous with false alarms and media hysteria. People who had stockpiled supplies felt foolish. Companies that had spent millions on Y2K preparations were accused of wasting money. But this reaction missed the point entirely. Y2K didn't cause massive failures precisely because of the extensive preparation efforts. The $600 billion spent on remediation wasn't wasted. It was the reason the apocalypse never happened. The programmers, engineers, and project managers who worked tirelessly throughout the late 1990s had successfully prevented the disasters they were hired to prevent. Y2K became a victim of its own success. The better the preparation, the less dramatic the outcome, and the more people questioned whether the threat had been real in the first place. Y2K taught us that sometimes the best disasters are the ones that never happen. The global response to the Millennium Bug was one of humanity's greatest collective achievements, a coordinated effort that prevented potential chaos through careful planning, massive investment, and sheer determination. The real lesson of Y2K isn't that we overreacted to a non-existent threat. It's that we successfully identified a genuine problem and solved it before it could cause harm. The programmers who spent years updating ancient COBOL code didn't prevent an imaginary disaster. They prevented a real one. Today, as we face new technological challenges from AI to cybersecurity, Y2K reminds us that preparation isn't paranoia, and prevention isn't proof that problems weren't real. Sometimes the most successful response to a crisis is making sure it never becomes one. The apocalypse that never happened was actually humanity's finest hour.